In a remote area, an abandoned gas station is the site of the tireless perseverance of a German shepherd named Duke. This is no ordinary place. This has been Duke's home for 4 years. Every day, under the scorching sun of summer or the blizzard of winter, Duke sits in the same spot, near the old gas station. He never leaves, although the cars passing by can see the weariness in his eyes. The dog has no proper shelter, only a makeshift tarp on the ground to keep out the rain. Despite this, Duke does not show any anxiety or try to run away, because in his mind there is only one goal: waiting for someone to return. Someone has left him here, a family, a loving home, and sweet memories that he will never forget. Whenever someone stops by, Duke is happy, but only for a moment. It never approached for food or a new home. Every passerby could see the patience in its eyes, as if it were waiting for someone special. Even though each day passed in solitude, Duke never showed any signs of wanting to leave. Martha Reynolds, a middle-aged woman who owned a local diner nearby, was the first to notice Duke's strangeness. When she started leaving food for the dog, she never thought it would be a one-time thing. Every day she passed by the gas station, and as a matter of habit, she always left a bowl of food for Duke. In those moments, she was not only the one who brought food, but also the dog's only companion for those long years. Martha also sensed something in Duke's silence, a painful patience. She could clearly see that Duke was not just hungry, he was waiting for someone. Maybe it was the person who left him in a storm, or maybe it was the family he once loved. In her conversations, Martha often spoke of Duke with deep sympathy. She said that Duke never looked at anyone like a stray dog. His eyes, full of fortitude and anticipation, made anyone who looked at them feel an incomprehensible pain. He was waiting for someone, she often said, and I couldn't just ignore him. Whenever she stopped to feed Duke a meal, she talked to him endlessly, as if she were sharing with an old friend. She told stories about the diner, about her life, about little things in the neighborhood, and sometimes about the hardships of her own life. Duke never responded, but every time she left, she always felt that she was not the only one there. The dog, though unable to speak, seemed to understand every story Martha shared. His eyes lit up whenever she approached, but just as she was about to leave, Duke would return to the same spot. It seemed that, at every moment, the dog just wanted to know if anyone would come back to bring a little hope, a little love, things that had been lost long ago. Duke's story began to spread throughout the neighborhood. Local residents began to visit the gas station, not only to see the dog, but also because of the sympathy they felt for him. Early in the morning, when people passed by, they saw Duke still there, silent, patient, refusing to leave. It was a special sight, where the people living nearby realized that Duke was not an ordinary dog. He was a symbol of infinite loyalty. Martha, despite her efforts to take care of Duke all this time, always felt a void in her heart. Every time she saw Duke's eyes, she could tell he wasn't just waiting, he was hoping. Hoping that someday someone would come back and take him away from this place. Duke waited. And when someone stopped, even for a brief glance, he felt a small joy. But then, when that person passed, Duke went back to his seat, waiting again. And life went on like that. Nothing changed. People came and went, but Duke stayed, holding on to the hope that one day his family would return. As the story of Duke began to spread, people in the area could not help but pay attention to the loyal dog. No matter the rainy, cold wind or hot summer, Duke still sat in the same place near the gas station, never moving a step. But Duke was not alone in his waiting journey, because beside him, there was always a special companion. Martha Reynolds, the owner of the local restaurant, was the one who took care of Duke for a long time. She not only provided Duke with food, but was also the only one who understood that this dog was waiting for something greater. A waiting that no one but Duke could understand. Martha was the only one who could feel the endless patience and loyalty in Duke's eyes. Although she could not know exactly who it was, she believed that Duke was not just a stray dog, but a creature keeping a promise that could never be broken. Every morning, when Martha walked into her restaurant, she stopped at the gas station to check if Duke was still there. And she was never disappointed. Duke was always there, silent, sitting on a small rock facing the empty road. He did not greet her with a happy wagging of his tail like a normal dog. Instead, Duke looked at her with thoughtful eyes as if to say, "I'm still here, I'm still waiting." Martha once said that one morning when she approached Duke, the dog looked at her with a look that said, "Thank you, but I'm still waiting." Martha knew that Duke did not want to leave. did not want to find a new shelter. Because rain or shine, whether someone came and gave Duke food or not, the dog did not leave. Duke was waiting for something, something that only he knew. Martha wasn't the only one who noticed Duke. During those days, many locals saw Duke and couldn't help but feel sorry for him. Some would stop to give him food, while others would just stand at a distance, silently observing, as if they were waiting for some miracle to happen. But the miracle never seemed to come, at least until one day, when someone else started to take notice of Duke's story. Noah Patterson, a young investigative reporter from the big city, happened to be passing through the area on business trip. He was looking for a unique story to write, and as soon as he saw Duke, he knew this was the story he was looking for. Although he had originally intended to simply take a few photos of the dog, the patience and loyalty Duke showed made him feel compelled to find out more. In the early morning light, as Duke waited, Noah watched from a distance. He could see that Duke was not like any other stray dog he had seen. This dog seemed to be on an important mission, a mission that no one in the area could understand. He took out his camera and began recording the moment. The images of Duke sitting there, alone in the cold wind, made a strong impression on Noah. When he returned to the office, Noah began to search for information about Duke. He read through articles about the gas station and the situation in the area. Later, Noah met Martha and asked her about Duke's story. Martha, although she did not know the details, told him that Duke had been there for a long time and had been patiently waiting. She believed that Duke was not simply a lost dog, but that he was waiting for someone he loved, someone who had not appeared for a long time. There was definitely a story behind it, and Noah decided to pursue it. He shared videos of Duke on social media, hoping to find out about the dog's family. He searched everywhere, contacted animal rescue organizations, and even dug up old local newspapers. But nothing helped him find the answer to the biggest question: who is Duke waiting for? However, Duke's story began to gain traction. Noah's post was widely shared online, and many people expressed their gratitude for Duke's loyalty. But it wasn't until a surprising comment appeared under Noah's post that things began to unravel. As Duke's story began to gain traction, Noah Patterson became more determined to learn more about the loyal dog's past. Not only did he want to know why Duke had chosen this gas station as his waiting place for the past 4 years, but he also wanted to understand more about the story behind Duke's long days. After looking through some old documents and asking many people in the area, Noah finally found an important clue. Duke was not a simple stray dog, as many people thought. The story began on a stormy night 4 years ago, when Duke was still a loving member of the Carter family. The Carter family, including Emily, Lucas, and Duke, lived in a small but cozy house near the gas station. One evening, after finishing school and work, the Carter family drove home together. The family had planned a cozy evening together, watching movies, eating pizza, and even taking a walk in the park after dinner. But no one expected a tragic accident to happen, changing everything. The storm that night was very strong, with fierce winds and heavy rain. The family was traveling through a winding mountain pass when suddenly the car lost control. An oncoming truck could not react in time, and in a flash, the accident happened. The whole car flipped over, flew off the road, and the Carter family's car was stuck under a large tree. Emily and Lucas were seriously injured, but fortunately, no one in the family suffered a fatal injury. However, in the chaos, Duke, who was sitting in the back of the car, panicked and confused. When rescue workers arrived, they quickly removed Emily and Lucas from the car and took them to the hospital. However, in the panic, Duke was trapped in the overturned car. His frightened eyes reflected everything that was happening, but no one could immediately notice him. When rescuers found Duke, they tried to pull the dog out of the wreckage. But in a moment of chaos, Duke was awakened by loud noises and felt completely disoriented. In a moment of extreme fear, Duke ran away, not understanding what was happening and unable to realize that his family had been rescued from the car. The dog, bewildered, ran into the darkness without looking back. Although rescuers found him and took him to a shelter, Duke could not rest in peace. He could not bear the loneliness and fear, and after escaping from the shelter, Duke went to the only place he remembered, the gas station near his home. He hoped that his family would return there, the place where warm family memories were attached to him. Every day, Duke sat in the same place, waiting, with the faint hope that someone would come back to pick him up. But each time, only cars passed by, and he was lost in the silence of the place he never wanted to leave. Noah gradually pieced together the story. Together with the clues he gathered from rescue organizations and the accounts of people who witnessed the accident, Noah began to understand more about Duke's past. He found old hospital records and rescue records, confirming that the Carters were indeed Duke's family. These details allowed Noah to understand that Duke was not an ordinary lost dog, but a dog searching for his family after an unforgettable tragedy. However, even with a clearer understanding of the truth, Noah still had no way to contact the Carters. He felt a sense of frustration as Duke continued to sit there, waiting. Part of him wondered if the Carters would ever return, or if Duke would have to deal with this pain forever. After gathering enough information about Duke's past, Noah Patterson felt he needed to act immediately. With passion and a desire to bring results to this touching story, he decided to share everything he knew on social media. Although he didn't know if anyone would recognize Duke, he hoped that his post would attract attention and possibly help the Carter family find their lost dog. Noah wrote a long post on Facebook, along with a video he had recorded of Duke over the past few days. The video showed Duke sitting silently, waiting at the gas station, his eyes filled with hope. He also shared the story of the accident and the years Duke had gone through. With emotional images and narration, Noah's post not only made viewers feel sorry, but also made them think about Duke's absolute loyalty. At first, Noah's post only received a few shares from friends and family. But then a woman named Helen Taylor, an old friend of the Carter family, happened to see the post. She remembered Duke very well and immediately recognized the dog in the video as the beloved pet of the Carter family. Helen immediately went to the comments section and wrote a short, surprising line. "I think I know this dog. It's Duke, the Carter family's. They lost him in an accident 4 years ago." Helen's comment quickly gained attention. Her friends began sharing the post, and within hours, Noah's post had been viewed by thousands of people. People in the community and those who knew the Carter family began commenting, sharing memories of Duke, and hoping that the Carter family would eventually find their dog. Lucas Carter, now 14, came across the post when an old friend sent it to him. As soon as he saw the video, Lucas's heart stopped. He recognized Duke immediately, without a doubt. It was the dog he had raised since he was a child, the beloved companion he had been separated from after the accident 4 years ago. Lucas couldn't believe his eyes. The dog he had lost was alive, waiting for his family to return. Lucas immediately ran to find his mother, Emily, and showed her the video. Emily looked at the screen, and when she saw Duke's image, she began to cry. Memories of the family's beloved dog, the happy days when Duke had been an integral part of their lives, suddenly came flooding back. "That's Duke, honey. It's definitely him," she said, choking up. She immediately called Noah Patterson to confirm and ask for more details about Duke's condition. Noah, surprised and touched by Emily's reaction, was ready to provide any information she needed. He shared every detail he knew about Duke, from the time he started living at the gas station to the times he filmed and posted. Emily felt like a miracle was happening, that after 4 years of separation, she finally had a chance to find the dog her family thought they had lost forever. Immediately, the Carter family began preparing for the long journey back to where Duke was waiting. Emily and Lucas planned the trip that same day, although they couldn't believe how quickly things had changed. They had lost Duke for 4 years, and now all they wanted was to run to him and give him the warm, loving home he once had. When Emily Carter realized that Duke might be somewhere, and after confirming it through Noah's video, the whole family felt like they had just received a miracle. But for Lucas, this was a huge shock. He couldn't believe his eyes when he saw Duke's image on his mother's phone screen. The dog he loved, the dog that had accompanied him through his childhood years, now appeared before his eyes, as if no time had passed. Lucas remembered the old days, when Duke was his indispensable companion. Duke was not just a dog, but also his best friend, his loyal protector, always by his side in good times and bad. He remembered the afternoons running around the garden with Duke, the early mornings waking up to take Duke for walks, and the times Duke lay next to him when he felt lonely. But then it all ended when the accident happened, and Duke disappeared without anyone knowing his fate. Lucas felt a mixture of emotions. Memories of Duke came back, strong and clear. He couldn't believe that, after all these years, his loyal dog was still alive, and more importantly, waiting for his family to come back and take him home. Lucas looked at the phone screen, his eyes shining with disbelief. "It's Duke, Mom," Lucas shouted, unable to contain his emotions. "Our dog, Mom." Emily sat there, looking at the screen with tears in her eyes. Emotions welled up inside her. She couldn't believe that Duke was still alive, that the dog she had loved so much was waiting for them. She blinked a few times, trying to clear the lump in her throat. It felt like her heart was about to burst with joy and amazement. For 4 long years, she had never given up, and now that hope was reborn. Although still a little surprised, Emily knew that this was an opportunity that her family could not pass up. She quickly called Noah Patterson, who had made everything possible. After confirming everything with Noah and understanding Duke's condition, Emily and Lucas decided to immediately head to the gas station where Duke was waiting. Although they were in a hurry, they couldn't help but feel choked up. Emily tried to hold back her emotions, but couldn't help but shed tears at the thought of seeing Duke again. As for Lucas, his heart couldn't stop beating fast. He felt like he was dreaming, unable to believe that after 4 years he could finally hug his best friend again. "Mom, we're going to see Duke again. Finally, we're going to see him again," Lucas said, unable to hide the joy in his voice. He couldn't wait any longer. Emily smiled, wiped away the tears on her cheeks, and nodded. "We'll see Duke again, baby. And this time, we'll never let him go again." The next few hours were a long drive filled with excitement and anticipation. They drove down familiar roads they'd traveled many times before, only this time with renewed confidence. Every post, every corner brought back old memories of the Carters and Duke. Only this time, they weren't alone. The family wanted only one thing, to see Duke again, and finally bring him home, where Duke had always belonged. After a long 10-hour drive, the Carter family finally arrived at the place where Duke had been patiently waiting for the past 4 years. As their car pulled up near the old gas station, a strange and powerful feeling enveloped Emily and Lucas. They felt Duke's presence as soon as they got out of the car, as if a part of the space was waiting for them. A gentle breeze blew, and the light from the street lamps flickered like a sign of hope. The old gas station, where Duke had spent so many years alone, was no longer a cold and empty place. This was a place of hope and love, where the Carter family would be able to reunite with the dog they thought they had lost forever. Duke was still there, just like in the videos Noah had shared. The dog did not move, still sitting still in the same place, his big, round, sparkling eyes looking at the Carter family, as if he had recognized them from afar. Duke's loyalty remained unchanged, despite years of lonely waiting. An indescribable feeling filled Emily and Lucas's hearts when they saw that the dog they had loved for so long was still alive and waiting for them. Emily walked towards Duke, unable to hold back her tears. She gently called Duke's name. "Duke, my dear, it's Mommy. Mom's back. I won't leave you again." At first, Duke sat still, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. The dog just looked at his mother with doubtful eyes, as if checking to see if this was a dream. But when Emily's call rang out again, Duke suddenly realized and reacted immediately. The dog stood up, walking towards her with a speed that he had not seen in 4 years. It seemed that an invisible force had made Duke overcome all the pain and loneliness. Lucas, unable to hold back, ran towards Duke. As he got closer, Duke's eyes lit up, and the dog immediately rushed towards him, as if he couldn't wait another second. The two of them rushed into each other's arms, a touching sight. Lucas was overwhelmed with joy, his eyes welling up with tears. "Duke, you're back," Lucas choked out, and tears began to fall. He hugged Duke tightly as if he never wanted to let go. Duke, as if he understood Lucas' joy, wagged his tail and jumped on him, expressing his joy and happiness at seeing his dear friend again. The entire Carter family was in tears as they witnessed this scene. They had thought they had lost Duke forever, but now the dog's love and loyalty had brought their family closer than ever. Every step Duke took now was a reminder of patience, endless loyalty, and the power of family love. The long years Duke had spent alone, waiting for the day they would be reunited, had finally paid off. Emily sat down next to Duke, stroking his familiar fur. She said through sobs, "I'm sorry, Duke. I don't know how long you'll have to endure, but I won't keep you waiting any longer. I promise you." Lucas looked at his mother, also choking back. "We'll never lose each other again, right, Duke?" The dog responded with a strong wag of his tail, as if agreeing to that promise. In those moments, under the dim light of the old gas station, the entire Carter family sat around Duke. They didn't say much, only knowing that, despite all the trials they had gone through, they had finally found each other again. Together they had overcome pain and separation, And now they were ready to start a new chapter, where Duke's love and loyalty would forever be an indispensable part of the Carter family. While the Carter family's reunion with Duke was a touching and joyous moment, transitioning Duke back to a new life was not easy. Despite the joy that filled the hearts of every family member, Duke still did not feel completely safe and comfortable in his new home in Denver. Duke had been alone for the past 4 years, waiting for a family to whom he had devoted himself. He had spent long days alone, without a stable home, and facing all the hardships nature had to offer. And now, returning to his family, Duke began to feel overwhelmed by all the changes around him. When the Carter family brought Duke home, the Denver home was large and unfamiliar to the dog. Despite the memories of family and happy times, Duke still felt strange. The dog still didn't want to go inside, still hesitant and standing quietly in the yard, as if there was an invisible fear that prevented him from entering. The unfamiliar walls, the new furniture, and the strange smell in the space made Duke feel uneasy. Emily and Lucas couldn't bear to leave Duke outside for long. They tried to bring Duke inside, but the dog just stood at the door, looking inside and then looking back at the wide yards where he had wandered. "Duke, you're okay. This is our house. You'll be okay," Emily said softly, but Duke just sat still and didn't move. Duke still kept his old habits. Every night, instead of lying in the warm family house, Duke still stood outside, looking out at the night sky. Everyone tried to bring him inside, but every time a strange noise rang out, Duke would rush outside, as if searching for something familiar that he had lost. Lucas couldn't help but feel heartbroken when he saw Duke like that. He knew that the dog could not easily overcome the pain and loss of the past. However, he also believed that with time and patience, Duke would gradually find peace in his new home. One morning, as Lucas and Duke were walking in the large garden, he realized something important. Duke stopped by a corner of the garden, staring at a large tree that the Carter family had planted before the accident. It was a tree that Duke loved very much, where he often lay under the shade when the family enjoyed picnics together. The sight warmed Lucas's heart. He knew that even after all these years, Duke still remembered everything, and the dog was finding beautiful memories that had been forgotten in the dark days. The Carter family gradually began to change their habits to help Duke feel safer. Emily no longer asked Duke to come into the house immediately. She gradually created a familiar space for Duke with his old favorites, a soft bed, the rug Duke used to sleep on, and the toys Duke had played with as a puppy. Every day, she spent time talking to and caring for Duke, gently petting him whenever she saw signs of anxiety. Lucas also began to be more patient with Duke. He did not force the dog to change immediately, but instead tried to create happy hours with Duke in the garden. Short walks, morning runs around the yard, and playing with a ball helped Duke feel more comfortable and at ease. Little by little, Duke began to feel more confident in his new space. However, although the Carters did everything they could to make Duke comfortable, there were times when Duke became stressed, especially on summer nights when noises outside scared the dog. Those nights, Emily and Lucas sat next to Duke, talking softly and making him feel safe. They didn't force Duke to change right away, but instead gave him time to get used to his new life. A week later, there was a small but meaningful change. One afternoon, when Emily opened the door for Duke to go outside as usual, Duke didn't come back right away. Instead, he stood there for a moment, sniffing around and looking in the window. Then, slowly, Duke walked inside, as if he had found his place in the house. Emily and Lucas looked at each other and smiled softly. This was a big step for Duke. Although it had been a long time since the Carter family had reunited with Duke, the dog had not yet fully regained his confidence. However, the family had been patient and accompanied Duke throughout this journey, and everyone had noticed clear progress. Duke began to get used to his new life, having afternoons playing with Lucas, quiet mornings lying by the window, watching the world outside. These small steps brought hope and joy to the Carter family. However, there was still a big challenge for Duke to face, the final challenge to completely overcome his fear and find peace in his soul. And this challenge came on a windy summer night. One evening, as the family was enjoying dinner outside, the sky suddenly darkened and thunder rumbled. Dark clouds gathered quickly, and not long after, a heavy rain began to fall, followed by thunder and lightning and strong winds. The sudden storm made the atmosphere tense, and the loud thunder made Duke feel uneasy immediately. Duke started to panic. The dog ran back and forth, claws scratching the ground, and kept looking outside as if he wanted to run away. Although he had lived in this new house for a while these loud noises still reminded Duke of the old memories of the stormy nights he had spent alone. Emily and Lucas stood up, trying to calm down. "Duke, don't worry, you don't have to be scared anymore," Emily said, but Duke just ran around the house, his eyes looking at the door in panic, as if he was afraid that he would have to leave his family again. Lucas rushed to Duke's side, trying to comfort the dog, but every time he got close, Duke backed away, as if he was looking for a way to escape the situation. At this point, Lucas realized something important. Duke had not yet fully overcome his deep-seated fear, the fear that he had carried with him all those lonely years at the gas station. This was where Duke's real test came. The Carters' patience would be stretched to its limits, but it was important that they help Duke overcome this fear, not only so that the dog would feel safer, but so that the Carters could truly become the home Duke needed. Lucas decided not to give up. He remembered all the hours Duke had spent with him, the afternoons they spent running around a yard, the quiet mornings with the dog. He knew that Duke was still an important part of his life, and he couldn't let the dog live in fear any longer. "There's nothing to worry about, Duke," Lucas whispered, moving closer to the dog. He sat down, stroking Duke's head gently and patiently. "Mommy and I are always here. You won't be alone anymore." Time passed. The storm still roared outside, but in the warm house, Lucas continued to whisper to Duke. He did not stop, even though Duke was still worried. He did not leave. He knew that this was the time when patience and love would help Duke overcome this fear. As time went on, Duke felt safer. The dog's eyes gradually became less panicked. Duke slowly lay down next to Lucas, leaning his head against him as if seeking protection. Every time the wind blew, and the thunder still echoed in the night, but this time Duke did not rush outside. The dog lay still, breathing gently, feeling the peace that Lucas brought. In this way, Duke completed his final challenge, facing his fear and choosing to find peace in the arms of his family. When the storm passed, the light of the evening returned. Lucas and Duke were still sitting together, a perfect image of bond and unconditional love. Emily watched them from afar and felt an indescribable happiness, as Duke had finally overcome the greatest challenge of his life, no longer afraid, no longer alone. The dog was back home, and the Carter family was completely reunited. Since the night of the storm, everything seemed to have changed completely for Duke. The dog, once the image of panic and anxiety, now began to show a new calmness and confidence. After the final challenge, when Duke chose to face his fear instead of running away, the dog began to fully integrate into his new life with the Carter family. Every morning, Duke woke up with Lucas, the dog's eyes no longer shining with doubt. Instead, there was happiness and anticipation, as if knowing that each day was a new beginning. Lucas no longer needed to encourage or comfort Duke every time he went out for a walk. Instead, Duke took the initiative to run to the door when he heard Lucas's shoes, ready for a new walk. The two had returned to their old routine, but this time, everything was different. Duke was not only a loyal companion, but also a cheerful friend, always ready to participate in any activity. With Emily, Duke has also changed. The dog no longer hesitates to enter the house, automatically finding a comfortable spot in the living room, a place Duke used to feel strange. Every evening, when the family sits together, Duke will lie neatly at Emily's feet, as a way to express the connection and peace he finds in this family. Emily smiles every time she sees Duke, and she knows that the dog has found a solid place in her life again. The previous feelings of anxiety and fear have completely disappeared, replaced by the trust and love that the Carter family has for Duke. Duke has also gradually become an indispensable part of all family activities. When summer comes, the Carter family organizes outdoor picnics, and this time, Duke is the first one to rush out the door when he hears the sound of the stroller wheels being pulled out. The dog not only enjoys participating in the walks, but also seems very happy to have fun with the family in the sun. As Emily and Lucas prepared for the outdoor party, Duke was always around, both cheerful and carefully watching every move, as if he wanted to make sure everything went perfectly. One day, the Carter family threw a birthday party for Lucas, and Duke was the center of attention again. Not because Duke wanted to stand out, but because the dog had become an important part of every happy moment of the family. Not only did he receive love, but he also received love in return at parties, family meals, and even during peaceful mornings. The family's love made Duke feel that this was his home, a place where he would no longer be lonely or afraid. A month later, the Carter family decided to take Duke on a long trip out of town. It was Duke's first time away with his family, and both Emily and Lucas were nervous because they didn't know if Duke would be comfortable with the trip. However, as the car started and Duke jumped into the back seat with Lucas, their worries disappeared. Duke was completely calm and happy, even enjoying the new scenery he saw from the car window. From then on, every long trip, whether short or long, was indispensable without Duke's presence. The dog had truly become an indispensable part of every journey of the Carter family, not only a loyal protector, but also a cheerful friend, creating wonderful memories for every family member. Duke was not just a dog, but a symbol of perseverance, loyalty, and faith in love. The long years of waiting were in the past, and now Duke had found not only a home but also a family that was always ready to give the dog everything that was best for him. Feelings of anxiety, fear, and loneliness no longer had a place in Duke's soul. The dog found peace again, and the Carter family, with their unconditional love, gave Duke a new life, a life filled with love, safety, and joy. Duke's journey from reuniting with the Carter family to fully integrating into his new life is a testament to the power of loyalty, love, and patience. The hardships he endured, the pain and panic he felt, gradually faded away as Duke found his home again. After 4 long years, Duke finally found not only his family, but the peace he always deserved. In the days following Duke's touching encounter with the Carter family, their lives were forever changed. Duke was no longer a stray dog, but an integral part of the family. Mornings filled with laughter, afternoons spent playing in the sun, and evenings spent together became the Carter family's daily routine. Duke taught them a valuable lesson about perseverance, unconditional love, and believing in change. Duke's life was no longer a series of lonely and anxious days. Now, the dog was an important part of Emily, Lucas, and the community around them. People in the area began to recognize the miraculous story of Duke and the Carter family. Those who had helped Duke during the difficult months, from Martha Reynolds to Noah Patterson, were happy to see the change in the dog. They saw that love can truly change a life, whether it be of a human or an animal. For Duke, the memories of the painful past were now replaced by moments of joy and peace. Every day was a gift, and every moment with his family was a sweet memory that Duke would forever cherish. Duke was not just a loyal dog, but a symbol of hope and second chances. The Carter family gave Duke a new chance, a new life. And Duke, with his unfailing loyalty and love, returned the favor by becoming a wonderful friend and an indispensable member of the family. Duke's story is not only a story of reunion, but also a story of healing, forgiveness, and the opportunity to start over. Today, as the Carter family looks back on the long and challenging journey they and Duke have been on, they can't help but feel grateful for those moments. Every smile Lucas gives while playing with Duke, every happy wag of his tail is a testament to the love the family has for each other. Duke's story teaches us that no matter how difficult life may be, no matter what challenges we face, with love and patience, we can overcome them all. Like Duke, we can endure loss and hardship, but if we keep our faith and stay open to second chances, we will find peace and happiness. The Carter family did just that with Duke. They never gave up, and along the way, they not only saved a dog, but also found a part of themselves, their belief in love, loyalty, and hope for brighter days ahead. Ultimately, Duke's story is not just a dog's story, but the story of all those who believe in reunion, forgiveness, and the power of love. Duke proved that, no matter the circumstances, love is the power that helps us overcome all challenges, helping us find peace and happiness in unexpected places. Today, Duke is no longer a stray dog, but a precious member of the Carter family. And Duke's story, with all the tears, smiles, and touching moments, will forever be a lesson in love, patience, and hope in all of us. The waiting dog has brought us a valuable lesson in love, loyalty, and the power of patience. The story of Duke's miraculous reunion with the Carter family is not only a touching story, but also a testament to how family love can overcome all difficulties, regardless of time and distance. Duke waited for 4 years, without any promises, with only faith in family, in love, and in unconditional loyalty. It was that faith that helped Duke overcome all the challenges, and in the end, the dog found the family he loved again. So, what can you learn from this story? Unconditional love, patience, and hope are never in vain, and you too can learn to persevere, despite challenges, to find the best in life. This story is not just about Duke and the Carter family, but about all of us, a reminder that love and loyalty can change everything. If you are moved by this story, don't forget to like and share this video to spread the message of love and patience to everyone. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on other inspiring and meaningful stories. Let's share stories of loyalty, love, and hope. Because every story can change someone's life. Thank you for watching the video and always accompanying us on this journey.